of the Shelby County Republican Party, and it is great to see so many people here for our forum tonight. So welcome. At the beginning of our meetings, we always do the prayer and the pledge, and so I believe Nicole Cusick from Commonwealth Policy Center is going to open up with a prayer.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we love you, we worship you, and we honor you. We thank you for the blessing that is today that you gave us, for health, for well-being. Father, we come before you today in this great country that you gave us, for the democracy that you've given us. We pray that you would be here, and that your presence would be upon us. We thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ, for the price that he paid on the cross, for the forgiveness that we have in his name. Pray that you would bless these candidates. Thank you, God, for the sacrifice, both for this country and to run this race. Father, I pray that you would bless them and their families as they continue to stay faithful to your word, and as they continue to serve their constituents. I pray that everything that needs to be said would be said tonight, and that your name would be glorified and honored above it all. It's in your name we pray, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
All right, and everyone could please stand for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Really quickly, right before we start, I just wanted the Shelby County Republican Executive Committee members to please stand up and be recognized. Thank you all for the work that you do. And then just by a show of hands, how many people are here from Shelby County? All right. How many are here from Henry? You all, very good. Anderson? Fantastic, welcome. And Jefferson? Fantastic, very good. Any other counties? Oldham? I think we have Oldham here too. All right, very good. Well, welcome you all. We're again so glad that you are here. We are very happy to be partnering with the Commonwealth Policy Center for the forum this evening. And one last thank you to the Shelbyville Country Club for allowing us to use this place month after month at a very reasonable price. And they actually let us do that during COVID when nobody else would let us do it. So we're very, very pleased with them and thank them for that. And so now I will introduce the Commonwealth Policy Center, Richard. And they are running the show from here on out. So thank you very much.
I don't think I'm going to need this. I'm going to try to project and tell me if you can all hear me okay in the back. And if not, start waving your hands, and we're good. I'm getting a thumbs up. Very good. Good to see you all this evening. My name is Richard Nelson. I'm the founder and executive director of the Commonwealth Policy Center. I want to thank the Shelby County Republican Party for hosting this. I want to thank the candidates for showing up, and then for all of you attending. This is an opportunity for you to better get to know the candidates, what they stand on the issues, and what they would do if they were elected. So here's the ground rules. This is a forum, it's not a debate. Again, this is a chance for you to get to know the candidates, for them to communicate to you who they are and why they're running for office and that kind of thing. It's not personal. In fact, we're not going to have personal attacks. I don't think we'd have that when we get up here. Glad we're in agreement. For opening remarks, the candidates will each have 3 minutes to introduce themselves and to tell you why they're running for office. And we do have a timer, by the way, so if anybody goes over that, we will, Christopher, take a look at him. He's mean. We've drawn for who goes first, and Senator Adrienne Southworth has been drawn. She will go first, and then Aaron Reed and Gallrein will go last, and then we're going to reverse that in the end. Ed asked me to remind him at the very end that he gets to go first for closing remarks. I'm going to try to cover a lot of ground. We got a lot of important issues that the General Assembly addressed recently. There are a lot of issues that are being talked about in the campaign, issues that you care about. So we have kept limited remarks to a minute and a half per candidate. And then we're gonna have opportunity for a follow-up of 30 seconds. So I know that's not a lot of time, but we are gonna try to cover many issues. And if you have questions of them towards the end, feel free to send a text message to Cole Cusick. He's our local outreach director. Cole, would you care to give out the phone number?
I'm gonna give you my card, so if you wanna text me, I'm gonna put my cell phone numbers on there, so we're gonna get those handed out here soon, okay?
Okay. So Cole is the man for that. So just jot down, again, when Cole has that, jot that down and text him any questions that you might have. All right. I was neglectful to not say thanks to my CPC staff. You just saw Cole Cusick. Freddie Diggins is CPC's newest intern. He's up in Louisville. Christopher Parr is up here. He is our timekeeper. Alex Ritchie is the cameraman. Yep. And I want to thank all of you for helping to put this together as well. All right, without much further ado, we are going to kick this off. And Senator Adrienne Southworth, thank you so much for joining us in this forum. Adrienne has served as state senator for 3.5 years. And you're first to go. The floor is yours. 3 minutes.
Thank you all so much for being here. I did get elected in 2020. At that time, I represented Frankfort and surrounding area, Anderson County, other places. And after the census, then I was switched into this district, and so now I do represent all of you and have for the last 3 years. And it has been wonderful. I love each and every county individually, because everybody has their own culture, and I just love all the differences. When I first ran, we were discussing issues in the legislature, in the Republican-controlled legislature, like, should we kill the Born Alive Act? And we did. In 2020, the House killed the Born Alive Act, and the Senate killed the bill, which you all knew as Amendment 2 last year on the ballot, or 2 years ago on the ballot, that would have preserved and clarified that there's no right to abortion in the Constitution of Kentucky. And that really alarmed me, because, I mean, we're supposed to be conservative. I thought that was obvious, and clearly it wasn't. And so that really became one of the things, and it's really a theme for everything that I've done, from running the last time to what I've done this time. Because, you know, we did end up passing the Born Alive Act the next year, but how many babies' lives went while we were sitting around playing political games and doing press releases about it? And then, you know, Amendment 2 ended up passing after Dobbs was overturned instead of before. I mean, it was super ill timing, because we were messing around politically instead of doing what really needed to just be done. So last year we were again messing around the same way with our wonderful Stop Transgender Craziness bill, which got our sponsor sitting right here, Representative Shelbyville. And you know, the Senate's over here trying to kill. In fact, we took a vote 19 to 17. The Senate killed the bill and would make it okay to have hormone treatments for minors. You know, that was our 80% Republican majority of the Senate. And the same thing happened this year. We had almost probably similar numbers. Maybe we couldn't even get a vote to the floor on the anti-DEI bill. These are the kinds of things that I've been working on, because I'm in the group that believes we should be conservative and be forthrightly conservative. And there are obviously several of us that believe that way, but there are not enough. And there are people around the edges we're constantly having to work on. And so I'm running to continue leading that charge, trying to push these really conservative footballs down the field and working with as many people as we can. And I'm looking forward to your vote on May 21st, so I can continue that work on your behalf. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrienne, for keeping it within that 3 minutes, too. Aaron Reed, you're next.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guardians of freedom. Good evening. My name is Aaron Reed. I'm humbled to stand or sit before you as a father, as a son, as a husband, a brother, a friend, but tonight primarily as a candidate for the Kentucky State Senate. My campaign is deeply rooted in the enduring values of faith, family, and freedom, cornerstones of our great Commonwealth and our nation.
We find ourselves in a pivotal point in Kentucky's history. We're facing ideologies that threaten the essence of what makes our Commonwealth and our country truly great. The rise of woke culture has instilled fear in our youth that, gives them to stand. It's hard for them to stand up for what is right because of this fear. It's our responsibility to embolden our younger generations by setting the example of courage and integrity that they should aspire to embody. The time has passed when we could rely on others to protect our values. It's now upon us, the silent majority of Kentucky, to come forward and defend the principles that define us. The false promises from the liberal left seek to undermine the freedoms that we hold dear, steering our future towards a reality that opposes liberty and tradition. As a Navy SEAL, I understand the weight of freedom and the necessity of vigilance. I'm now committed to applying this steadfast dedication to serve the people of Kentucky and light the way through the fog and false utopias that cloud our collective vision. Our mission is clear: to rejuvenate the spirit of faith that guides us, to uphold the family as the foundation of our society, and to fiercely protect the freedoms that form our heart of Kentucky. Tonight, I call upon God to grant us strength, wisdom, and determination to safeguard the blessings bestowed upon us, to ensure our children and all generations to follow. Let this be our message to Kentucky and to the nation. We are prepared to confront the challenges of preserving our cherished way of life, to ensure that our Commonwealth remains a stronghold for faith, family, and freedom. Join me in this crucial mission as we approach the polls on May 21st. Let us commit to a future where our values only endure. They not only endure, but they flourish. Vote Aaron Reed for Kentucky State Senate. Thank you. God bless this forum tonight. May He continue to bless Kentucky, and may He bless the United States of America. And together, let's move forward, united by resolve to keep Kentucky a shining beacon of hope and freedom. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. And last but not least, Ed Gallrein.
I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. It's gratifying to see democracy in action. There are so many places in the world that you'd be rocketed, harassed, and attacked, but we can celebrate that here tonight because of the defense of our great nation by service members that stands in harm's way of folks who mean to do us harm. But you have obligations, responsibilities. You came out here tonight to make this a more perfect union. I want to thank the candidates for being here tonight as well, and all the staff that's put it on. As we gather here today, I want to start off by quoting my heartfelt words spoken by our 40th President, Ronald Reagan, who famously said, "Freedom prospers when religion is vibrant and the rule of law under God is acknowledged." Ladies and gentlemen, therein lies our shared task and our no-fail mission, as we say in Silky, to come together to protect our freedoms. My name is Ed Gallrein, and I stand before you as a proud Reagan Republican, a Christian conservative, a husband, a father of four, a grandfather of four, and a man who put service above self for we the people, Kentucky State Senate District 7. For decades, I've dedicated my life to the service of our great nation, first as a career Navy SEAL officer, Army Ranger, and a leader, and then as an advisor for U.S. national security to keep our nation safe, and now as a candidate for State Senate to represent your family's values in Frankfort and defend them against the overreaches of leftist politicians, the federal government, and its army of bureaucrats in Washington. As a combat veteran, fifth-generation farmer and small business owner, the culture of our Commonwealth and the history of our great nation runs deep within my veins, and it underpins my vision for our shared prosperity and a brighter future that lies ahead for our families that is at the heart of my mission for you. But let me be clear, my journey has not been defined solely by the fields I've plowed, the battles I've fought, or the strategies and plans I've developed to keep our nation safe. It has been shaped by the values instilled in me by my Christian faith, my love for my family, my community, my unwavering commitment and principles to duty, honor, country, and a servant leadership, which is why I pledged anonymously to donate all my salary to charities and scholarships in this district. I have a vision for Kentucky, a vision framed by positivity, prosperity, and the preservation of our culture and its values. It is a vision where our values are upheld, our freedoms are protected without being infringed upon by excessive regulations, government injustices, and overreach, including protecting the unborn and our children. Life and liberty are vitally important to me. I'm a staunch defender of the Constitution. I'm 100% pro-life. I'm 100% Second Amendment. I'm a lifetime member of the NRA and a rifle and pistol instructor. And I will always defend and support the men, women, and blue and the first responders who stand on the front lines to protect our families and communities. In closing, I'd like to share this other quote with you from President Reagan. We've been blessed with the opportunity to stand for something, for liberty and freedom and fairness, and these are things we're fighting for, worth devoting our lives to. I pledge to you tonight to be a tireless champion for your values and faithfully serve you, and I ask for your vote as your next state senator on 21 May. Thank you.
Thank you. Adrienne, we're going to go to you for the first question regarding election integrity. Last year, you did a restored election integrity campaign. This year, you introduced Senate Bill 80, which moved college IDs from government-issued photo ID category to the non-government category. The news media, by and large, said that this meant that you were against young people voting. Tell us what your bill did.
Well, I love the news media on this one because every single article was false. And I got up on the Senate floor when it came time to actually do the vote. And they sit right, I sit around the front row and they sit right here, all the way across the front room. And I said, every single article I've seen has been false about this bill. And I'm telling you what it is now. And I'm daring you to go publish and say that you're fake news, misinformation, disinformation, and tell them what it really is. And every single one of them, after that vote, explained the bill exactly how it was, 100% accurate, and even Courier Journal quoted themselves at me saying that they were fake news, misinformation. So what it did was, we have two types of ID. You have the government issued photo ID, and then you have the other. If you don't have that, you can start pulling out anything, right? Credit cards, just anything you can have your picture on, and that requires a form that says, affidavit, I really am this person, and here's what. College IDs, for whatever reason, were included in government issued photo IDs originally. And any number of colleges all around the state could be doing whatever, right? So we moved that to the secondary ID. They still need to fill out that affidavit so that it's really not the same as driver's license.
Thank you. Aaron, would you have voted for that bill? Senate Bill 80, again, it moved the category of student IDs out of the government-approved category of IDs that are necessary for voting.
I believe I would have. Valid identification is very important. You can't just go in and use your, like you said, you can't just use your credit card or whatever, your student ID, you have to have a valid ID. I think that's extremely important.
Very good. Ed?
Absolutely, non-negotiable, one person, one vote. If I could add to that, we should expect an onslaught of fraudulent documentation with the illegal immigrants that are here. That happens in a normal insurgency. There will be a cottage industry that provides them documents that makes them look like someone they're not so they can hide in plain sight. That will affect not only college students, but the complete voting apparatus of our great nation. We have to hold the line on that. That's non-negotiable and ensure one person, one vote. And then with respect to verification, when they show up at the actual voting location, there's no negotiation on that. They either are or they are not. This is not unlike handling top secret information, which I have in another way, but you have to have verification that has to be underpinned by vetting. So we should anticipate there's going to be an onslaught of threats, not only by college students, but a continuing vein of this type of legislation that we're going to have to hold the line on to protect our nation and voting integrity.
And I'm going to go back to you and ask if there's evidence that Kentucky's previous elections have been corrupted to change the outcome of any of the results.
Not that I have seen. I worked as a poll worker to understand the system recently, and saw how it works. I do have some concerns, but evidence hadn't been brought to me. I've asked for some of that, of what, you know, if in fact there was enough of for lack of a better term, nefarious activity that would overturn the election. That hasn't been brought to me. I look forward to that if somebody could provide it. Thank you.
Adrienne, let me ask you, since you did the Restore Election Integrity Tour last year, and I didn't watch that closely, did you find that there was any evidence of widespread election fraud in Kentucky that would have changed the outcome of any elections here?
So what we focused on in the election tour was 3 potential ways, the most likely ways for widespread election fraud to happen: ballot, machine, or network level. And what you see it with the ballot level, we do have, there are claims all the time, there's various, you know, indictments going on. Ohio has their voter rolls online so that you can actually access the data in real time. So we know of double vote situations there, between Kentucky and Ohio. Several people, they can cross the river pretty easily. That's not, that particular type of voter fraud isn't enough for widespread. Widespread is more when you have a machine or network situation. Machines we use are the same that are used all over the country that have, we're not Dominion, but we're the other ones. They're all certified by the same people. We're not certified, that's another thing. But then, you know, on the network level, you know, who knows? That's kind of the problem. We don't know. And we know enough to say everybody saw it on TV, you know, why did numbers flip for Matt Bevin against Amy Beshears? You know, those are the types of things that make a lot of people ask questions. And the huge key to me was Rasmussen did a poll last year. This is old news. 62% of people believe that elected officials were purposely hiding information about election security. That's terrible. And of course, you know, I'm not one of those people, but we have to do better and get the answers and solve.
Thank you. Aaron, do you think that there's enough evidence or any evidence that shows that there have been any elections overturned due to widespread fraud?
Well, something is definitely going on. I mean, there's smoke, but it's hard to find the fire, which is the actual evidence. You know, the biggest thing is that we maintain integrity in our coding, the whole system, so that people will feel that even, you know, if you feel like your vote doesn't count, you're not going to vote. You know, that's the comment that I've heard, you know, talking to people about in our community. So as long as we can maintain our integrity in our voting systems, I think that's vital.
Very good. Let's move on to endorsements of the candidates. Kentucky Right to Life Victory PAC endorsed Aaron Reed and Senator Southworth, and Ed Gallrein was recommended. I'm going to go back to Aaron first. How did you garner their endorsement? Did they get in touch with you to explain their endorsement process?
They sent me the questionnaire, but I have been, you know, I filled out the questionnaire, you know, to the best of my ability. And, you know, being a Christian conservative, it wasn't a hard test to take. It was lots of questions that all had to do with your belief as a Christian and your, you know, to me, it wasn't that difficult. But, you know, they did communicate a little bit. And my past, you know, being involved with different groups and going to their events and helping out, volunteering for this, that, and the other, to fight the fight for the pearl of life. Yes, and that we had a really ongoing relationship with the Right to Life, and it was easy to get their endorsement.
Adrienne, how about you? Did they explain how you got their endorsement?
Yeah, they have criteria on their website, and they always send every candidate a questionnaire, and we fill that out, and it's mostly yes or no questions. So there's not a whole lot of detail to explain, but they go back and look at background information. So since I'm an elected official, I have a voting record, so they go back and look at other, like, pro-life bills, how have I voted, and not just, I don't know how in-depth they go with how I voted, but also they look at, you know, contributions and other peripherals, right, involvement in groups and whatnot. And I wasn't noted for involvement in groups. I did write some of the groups and stuff down that I've had in the past, but I really think that my voting record probably stood out as the strongest because it's easy to see. When we were passing, remember I mentioned in 2020 when we killed the bill to get on the ballot to protect the right to life in the Constitution? Well, on the next year, I was there, right? And they were getting ready to pass it and not say, "We're Democrats all stood up and blew off about it. The media's all sitting right there making quotes. And not a single Republican, other than the bill sponsor, was saying, here's the I guess I have to say it, you know, and then know I stand up and go off, so, you know, maybe some of that.
And you were recommended by Kentucky Rights Life Victory PAC. Did you been in touch with them? And
I haven't been directly in touch with him, I filled out the questionnaire, and I should have added that, donated to Lindsey Graham, I might be one of the only folks in the room that have his stance on abortion. Also, probably left out some things that I've been to the March for Life, Washington DC, so I filled out the survey, but I should have added those pieces as well, based on the responses I heard here, that might have better illuminated my support, you know, for other positions. Thank you for the question.
very good. So this is in the context of endorsements by other organizations. I didn't say this in the beginning, but these candidates are very similar, at least when you do the research and look at their social media pages and look at their campaign website. So we're trying to dig in a little bit and find those distinguishing factors that would help you to learn more about them. And maybe, I don't know, maybe they're all columns up here. Although the other two are Navy SEALs. But here's the thing, and I'm gonna go back to you. You were endorsed by the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce, the only candidate up here that was endorsed by them. So tell us, how did you garner their endorsement?
Go ahead and fill out a survey and submitted that, and there was an interview, and they explored my background, my skills, my credentials, and they were very interested in my, you know, business background. They were very interested in my business chief executive coach, with the combined assets of those business owners and executives, folks that are in the communities here in Kentucky exceed $2 billion. And to be clear, I don't help them make the exact business decisions. We help them be better versions of themselves in those corporate environments to make better decisions for their families or communities or businesses to make the Commonwealth better. I think they recognize that. And then you can see there's a complete spectrum of businesses. It's not just one. They are champions for businesses which are really families and communities as an economic accelerator over there in Frankfurt. So they're doing pick and shovel work of trying to help us be prosperous and get government out of the way, frankly. So I was happy to have those conversations with them. And of course, my credentials in education, I've got a master's in financial management, like a banker. That probably helped as well. I've been on the largest dairy farm in the state of Kentucky. And our family had that in Valley Station before we were evicted by eminent domain. That might come up later. We were a victim of that. Other folks know that. The heavy-handed government came to the Gallreins. That's what brought the farm in Shelby County. Yes, ma'am. They don't play fair. A judge's court order kicked us off where we've been for over 100 years. So they recognized that I had the ability to deal with that and move forward. Then I was on the largest family grain farm in the state. I was 26 years old before I was recruited to be a Navy SEAL officer and lead the farm.
Thank you. Aaron, there's another pro-business organization that got involved with endorsements. That was the Americans for Prosperity organization, and they're actually working on, I've seen a post where they're going door to door. How did you garner their endorsement out of all of the candidates here?
I'm really glad I answered that phone call. They met with me and we had a really good conversation, several of them actually, several meetings. And they were very happy with my background as a business owner. I've 3 gun shop businesses, being a farm owner and working on the farm with my family. You know, the fight that I had for education, I have 6 kids, 4 of them are still in school, actually 5 of them are still in school, and being a pro-school choice, you know, that was something that they really liked. Big on cutting government spending was one of their criteria, and the fact that I want to lower taxes, that's kind of a brainer for conservatives. We just really meshed well, and ever since they decided to endorse me, I haven't heard from them other than seeing them on, you know, Facebook and all the people they're knocking doors and talking to, which I'm very thankful for. Thanks. Very good.
April 10th marked the 1-year anniversary of the mass shooting at Fifth Third Bank in Louisville, where 5 people were murdered. In response, the CAR Act was introduced by GOP Senator Whitney Westerfield and the Democratic Senator from Louisville. It's a bipartisan bill. CAR stands for Crisis Aversion and Rights Retention. This allows for according to the organization supporting this, it allows for the temporary transfer of firearms away from people on the brink of crisis. It ensures there's a way to intervene before a family member misuses a gun. States with processes, according to the, again, groups that are supporting this, states with processes for the temporary transfer of firearms see rates of suicide by firearms drop between 7 to 14%. Adrienne, I'm going to go to you. How did you come down on that? was not heard in committee, was it?
Correct, not this year for a vote. So in 2019, right before I started running the first time, I had a person reach out to me and said, I want to go to Frankfurt and learn Frankfurt, can you give me a tour? Which I had done for other candidates in the past. And I said, sure, when are you available? And I said, here's the calendar online. He looked at it and he said, I want to go on the red flag law hearing day. I said, well, what? So it was December 2019, and I said, okay. So we went on that day, and it was just really shocking. I mean, you all know your senator was up there along with our judiciary chairman pushing red flag from the Republicans who the majority expected. That was interesting. They obviously got huge pushback, and they were back this year to try to do somewhat. They knew it was a losing battle. Try to get something out there. They watered it down to hopefully get more of us on it. And I attended that hearing in December of 23. Again, sat right up there with everybody to watch the whole thing. And the best line, there were two really great lines. The best line was Brandon Storm, and he said the Supreme Court has a quote about this, and he's like, all gun laws are presumed unconstitutional. Mic drop, right? And so that was me. I would love that, and that is my position. And I also want to ask, since we gave them a minute and a half on endorsements, I didn't get a minute and a half on endorsements. So
I'll let you go back.
after
We'll
we
go.
do this.
Okay, we'll do that. And where do you stand on, the CAR Act was considered a red flag law. But this time, well, of course, there was a Republican sponsor and a Democratic sponsor. Where do you stand on the CAR Act?
We're not supportive. We have due process, we have a constitution. Non-negotiable, it's a slippery slope, and it will be the beginning of the end, because our nation will be taking the trash into history, and it's just a fracture of the Constitution. It's written number 2 in our Constitution for a reason.
Very good. Aaron? You only two done stuff, so I think
This is the easiest question. Red flag laws, absolutely not. They're extremely unconstitutional in my opinion, well, and factual. Citizens, you can't take a citizen's right without due process. Furthermore, it's incredibly irresponsible to send a police officer to someone's house in the middle of the night for a crime that has not been committed yet. It does not make any sense. To stand up and say that you're for we the people, you can never allow your government to have this type of power over its citizens. As a state Senate candidate, you're not, or any candidate for that matter, you're not going to find anyone more with skin in the game and dedicated to the Second Amendment than me. I have 4 FFLs, federal firearms license, 2 SOTs, which allows me to deal in machine guns. I'm a lifetime member of the NRA since I was a child, not last year. I'm an endorsed member of the National Association for Gun Rights, which is an organization that does what you thought the NRA was doing. Also, as a professional pre-gun shooter, I was literally the poster child for the NRA. When I say that, I was on the posters at the NRA conventions. Also, I was the spokesperson for Shelby County Gun Owner Group, 2020 in September, when we made Shelby County a Second Amendment sanctuary county. So, important to remember, Benjamin Franklin said, if you ever give up freedom and liberty for security, you deserve neither one. That's my stance.
Thank you. And Adrienne, before I go back to the endorsements, I'm going to follow up with a 30-second follow-up regarding the issue of mass shootings. What's the proposal? What's the solution to mass shootings? If it's not red flag laws, how do you propose we the people, deal with mass shootings? Aaron, I'm going to go back to you to start this.
How we deal with mass shootings, that's the question?
Yeah. Or what's the solution? The solution.
Well, the solution is to eliminate gun-free zones, first of all, because that's where they always happen. Why are we being brain dead, of the facts? If I could get rid of gun-free zones, I think it would be the biggest thing, just, it's really the biggest one. We always want to do something. We feel like we have to do something to make a change, but we can't take away our rights. They're God-given rights, and no one has the right to take away our ability to defend ourselves.
Adrienne?
He took the words out of my mouth. Get rid of gun-free zones. And then I had a bill, we're always trying to repeal and chip away on all this stuff. So repeal the ability for local governments to have gun-free zones, reduce So, that's the new frontier, I think we need to do that too.
Very good. Okay.
In the gun-free zones, hold officials accountable that do catch and release and put us at the mercy of these murderers that should have already been caught and kept in jail. They seem to not be held responsible, so, then also with respect to the Second Amendment, completely across the nation, just roll back the infringement upon it, not just in one state, but in all 50 states. And we've got to do that through the United We Stand or Divided We Fall. The parties got to take a lead at the state level and at the federal level.
Very good. Adrienne, go back to regarding endorsements. Did I miss an endorsement?
Well,
You got the other ones
you
too?
asked him about an endorsement, and then you asked him about an endorsement. I guess I don't have an endorsement to talk about, but
We did Right to Life, but we all had a chance.
We all did
Go
that.
ahead, you got a minute.
I just wanted to respond. I mean, I have other endorsements, but that's not really what I want to talk about. In response to the endorsements that are out there, everybody has different criteria in how they do endorsements, but I know why I don't have a chamber endorsement, because as soon as I got to Frankfurt, well, even before that, in my last election, my Democrat opponent was endorsed by the chamber. And, he was the only Democrat in the state that got endorsed by the chamber. And I know exactly why they endorsed it, because they knew who I was, and they knew I wasn't their type. The first year I started filing, during COVID, anti-vaccine mandate legislation, and I got on the thumbs down list on the chamber. They send us all their bad bills, and it's like half of them are mine, And so, they have gone out, let me clarify, national and state chamber is different than your actual local county chamber. Local county chamber is like local businesses, and the state chamber is chaired by Democrats, and they're very woke. We've had a lot of discussions with conservative legislators. Everybody's pulling their hair out about the chamber because they're just turning into a leftist organization. And so I'm proud to not be endorsed by the chamber. Now, on AFP, I got 100% on the scorecard. I don't really know what their criteria is. I've never, seen any of that. We haven't worked with them directly on anything in Frankfurt, although we do agree on obviously lots of issues. So, they can do it if they want to do it. I just appreciate the groups that are out there that are actually conservative versus the sounds good.
We move on to the topic of sports gambling. And according to a story in the financial publication Morningstar just the other day, they say this: Toronto Raptors center Jonte Porter was banned for life from the NBA after he placed at least 13 bets on NBA games using an associate sportsbook account, disclosed confidential information to bettors, and limited his participation in at least one game so that a certain bet would play out. Adrienne, I'm going to go with you, because you were in the legislature when the issue of expanded sports gambling came up last year. How did you vote on that, and what's your position on sports gambling?
I voted no, and I think I voted, so it's weird, all these gambling bills we have. Every time we turn around, there's another gambling bill. Every year it happens. And it's always at the last second, and then they don't have support, and then magically it goes here, one of those deals. And it's all around this whole monopoly of the horse industry, propping up the horse industry with the casinos. I mean, and we've been fighting this for 15 plus years. I've been around for 16 years in Frankfurt, volunteer, executive, legislative, whatever. And we were fighting this when I came, and I know it had been going on for a while. In fact, right now, Indiana is under investigation. The Ohio Speaker of the House is in jail, right? But Illinois one's been indicted or charged, convicted. Indiana's currently under investigation because they were paying Kentucky legislators to not pass certain bills relating to casinos and gambling and so forth. And so this thing's a huge hot mess, and I think we need to stay far away from it because, literally, you're talking about federal investigations, and there's all kinds of slush money going on around all this stuff. So absolutely not.
And I'm going to go to you. If you were in the legislature, would you vote to expand sports gambling?
No, it's corrosive to our society, and it's a slippery slope. The data indicates there are so many negative side effects of it, directly and indirectly. And it appears that if you look at the data, the folks that are wealthy, who can afford it, it's no impact on them. But others that get tied up into it, include folks that become entangled and dependent upon it in some emotional way, they suffer as do their family. So with respect to that, we've got to be careful of folks that would, flash something
arguments was that Kentucky was losing money to other states that had a legal framework for sports gambling. Do you buy into that? Is that a good reason to expand it here?
No, gambling is not anything I'll ever sponsor, co-sponsor. I'm not interested in gambling at all, as far as something that I would be looking to support. As a Christian, it's not something that goes along with my ethos. That being said, I look through it from another angle, through the freedom and liberty angle. It is, gambling is a, it's one of those things that can be your right as an American to choose to do what you will. But I'm not going to ever, right, or like I said, I'll never be on the side of pro gambling. I can see, I had to really dig into some research on that. But, one thing that we do have to worry about is if we were to make gambling legal, then you got these monopolies that start forming. And I think that's something else that we should look at that is not beneficial to people.
Very good, thank you. Adrienne, I'm gonna go back to something you just mentioned, this slush fund in regards to, related to gambling. This is what you say in your website. Government of, by, and for the people is merely a relic for the history books. Large special interests and legal money laundering have nearly plunged us so far into the swamp that nobody can see a clear path forward. Were you referring to, just for clarity's sake, Frankfurt or Washington, D.C.?
All of the above.
So tell us, what do you mean by legal money laundering?
Yeah, so Kentucky has constantly been scoring. Every year they have these scorecards, right? You have illegal corruption, and we're always in the top, 3, 4, 5. And legal corruption, we're usually top 1, 2, 3. I mean, we hit the top of the charts in both. So legal corruption is, I was just describing earlier somebody, I wrote Senate Bill 39 this year. Senate Bill 39 really hits at the heart of this whole thing, I think, at least from my perspective. Lobbyists writing legislators checks, okay? They can't hand me a check directly. That's illegal corruption. But they can hand it to a different senator who hands it to me. That's legal corruption. And so I had a lobbyist in my office that said, wow, I love your bill because it would be so much cheaper to do our job if we didn't have to pay you all for which bills we want to pass. Now, do you guys want people paying us to make decisions when you believe that your votes are actually electing us and we're holding our oaths to the Constitution, and now you find out that they're just paying us off, right? So I don't think we should be paying off legally or illegally. And if we didn't have the special interest money funneling into our campaigns, I think the whole Frankfurt would look different. I really think it would be a lot more even playing field, and we'd be making logical, good decisions for you.
And I want to go to you. Do you see Frankfurt as a swamp?
Yes, there are issues over there with the folks that seem to be, for lack of a better term, ingratiating themselves, and so for those purposes, that's why I pledged that I'm a candidate for we the people here. And you'll also see that I have not sought or accepted political endorsements from others for that reason to stay independent. So we'll unpack that a little bit more about the swamp. I'm concerned that they get in an echo chamber over there and they forget about us out here. True, these communities, these families, these businesses out there that they should be serving. So part of my purpose with respect to giving my salary back is I intend to have a contest every year with other legislators and ask them what they gave back. It might not be a lot of money, but I wanted to change how they think of what their role is there. At one time, correct me if I'm wrong, they worked for nothing. They might have got a stipend for their horse and buggy. George Washington worked for nothing. It was for what they earned back in terms of being valued by the community to serve the community. So with respect to that, I do have concerns that we have, for lack of a better term, an echo chamber over there. Maybe swamp's too hard of a word, and there's lobbyists that seek no special interest and will seek to impact you when it's not in the best interest of we the people. So again, that's what one of my mottos is: service above self. I intend to serve you.
Thank you, Ed. Aaron, I'm going to pivot off of his statement. He said it might not be a swamp, but it's more of an echo chamber. So what is Frankfurt? More of a swamp or an echo chamber? Where legislators get into office and they're listening to the lobbying class and those in the realm of government more than they are perhaps the people.
Well, so, one of of the things I just recently did, I signed a letter to promise that I would, I guess, if I ever had the opportunity to co-sponsor or sponsor term limits, that I would do so. And, you know, term limits are, I think, are important because like the swamp or the echo chamber, you know, if you look at what I call the fourth branch of government, which would be the folks like, you know, lobbyists and administrative people that never leave, if you're gonna put term limits on politicians, I think we should also have some type of term limit on the administration staff, those that never seem to leave, and all the whole things just keep on being recycled over and over.
I was not gonna ask about term limits. How many of you would like me to ask them about term limits? Anybody interested in that issue?
Yes.
I'll go ahead since you brought it up, Aaron. You were endorsed by what group?
It wasn't an endorsement, it was just, they asked me to sign a pledge.
What was the name of it? Was it U.S. term limits, maybe?
Sounds familiar.
Okay, that's the only
Well,
one.
did you have to sign the same one?
I didn't sign it last time, so if I didn't bother.
Where do you stand on term limits?
This is a very interesting group because U.S. term limits actually is a constitutional convention for the purpose of the term limits amendment. So you have the con feel with the term limit issue. Now, I don't think we're in a good situation to do a constitutional convention right now because we have some super smart, wonderful founding fathers, and right now, look around, okay? We're talking about people who are elected, and I can't even get a conservative bill passed in the public legislature. Like, we should not have them deciding what constitutional amendments we should be writing or who should be developing. So, on the term limit specific, it doesn't give me any energy. What Aaron just said about lobbyists and bureaucrats, I went off on the term limits group 4 years ago when they were talking with me about this. I said, you're cutting the voice of the people and leaving the entire machine intact. And the machine is the problem, not the people. And so the people get recruited, they're the puppets, the machine keeps moving. Term limits, the worst thing up in Frankfurt is a whole bunch of green people who don't know how they're getting around and they get used either, you know, knowingly or inadvertently. Because the people who are operating the machine know how to push buttons. And you end up getting told what's in your interest and you come to find out it's not in your interest 4 years later. So, you know, I really want to have term limits on the bureaucrats, the lobbyists, the churn. After all that's done, then we can talk about elected officials. That's gotta be the last thing.
Very good. Where do you stand on term limits?
I support term limits, and I sign the same document referred to. I'd like to unpack that a little bit more. I have a slightly different view of it. The leadership in Frankfurt is 38 senators and 100 representatives in the government, unless I miss something. There are career officials, there's appointed officials, but those leaders, those 100, that 38, and that one should be leading. What I heard was it would be like me as Commodore Gallrein blaming all my troops that couldn't get the job done. Colonel, I'd be wrong when I'm doing that. The buck stops with me. So when you famously see something go wrong in the U.S. Navy, you don't see them go after some junior sailor or service member. The skipper's gone. It's the traditional leadership. So with respect to that, what I'll sign up is to be a leader. If it needs to be changed, then we'll change it. I do believe in term limits. If career politicians were the answer, we'd have utopia, wouldn't we? And then they get in there, and they're the smartest people in the room. Don't return your calls, your texts, or emails. Forget who you are, and sure don't stop out here and ask you really what's on your mind. And that's the way I'm going to do business. My committee meetings will be out here in these communities. I'll be nice and professional right over there. But if their change needs to come, you vote folks in there that can go make change happen. Otherwise, you're also getting into some, well, anyway, there's some lawyers in the room here, I'll let them speak to that better now. But anyway, that's where I stand on it. I hope that makes sense. Leaders got to be change agents. That's what you like us to do.
Thank you. This is a question from the audience, from a parent who says that they were at a school-sanctioned drag queen story time, sponsored by the Middle and High School Queer Student Association, and open to all ages. How can I, as a parent, protect my children from this reckless, agenda-driven insanity in our Kentucky schools?
There's a lot of that answer I probably shouldn't answer.
We don't want anybody in trouble, so we don't keep yourself in trouble.
Well, you know, to me, the big thing there is we need to have school choice in Kentucky. And that's what I would say would be the first step, because, you know, school choice in just about every other state around Kentucky. And the good news is in November, we're going to be able to vote for an amendment to be able to put that on the ballot. Last I heard. Yeah, so we'll be able to vote to have school choice in Kentucky, to amend our Kentucky Constitution. And it's important that we fund students and not systems.
Very good. Adrienne, you voted for Senate Bill 150, which kept out gender ideology from the public schools. I don't know if it addressed this, though. A drag queen story time sponsored by the Queer Student Association. Is this something the legislature should address?
I would agree, yes, because the Constitution gives us, the General Assembly, the power to control everything about the common school. And, you know, we really need to think about, this is one of the big issues I have. We want schools to be everything. At this point, they're the daycare, the nurse station, the dentist, you just go down the list. And we need to decide what is actually our goal. Are we doing education? Because we all know that's not going on. So, I think we need to do education. And I don't think we should be funding queer clubs, but let me also, I'm gonna do a First Amendment, plug ears if you don't wanna legally diatribe. But the First Amendment protects everybody, okay? But there are exceptions that aren't First Amendment. Okay, one of those is obscenity. And what we're finding out, these drag things. Now, story time, they don't usually start showing stuff. So that's kind of one of those things well, it's First Amendment protected. So technically they can use it as a public building, but should you be having the public buildings used for things that are like that? So then the same question goes, well, should we use it for Christian events? So we need to decide what we're doing and do it, but we need to get serious about how we're drawing the lines, because we've not been able to pass in our Republican supermajority twice, 2 years in a row, to protect us against these sexually explicit drag shows going on in front of kids all over the state, and that's unexplainable.
And should the legislature be involved with something like that? If the school has a drag queen, drag time story hour for kids, should the legislature enact a bill to keep that out of public schools?
Absolutely. That is non-negotiable. We gotta take our schools back, and that's just one element of it. I think the folks in there would agree. Could I see the hands of the proud grandparents out there? Grandparents, I know you're proud. Grandparents, let me see if I got this right. We pay more attention now than we did when we raised our kids, don't we? We are scared to death of what's going on in our schools. We gotta take our schools back. Back to the legislature. You gotta play chess, not checkers. We've got to win the day. That amendment's got to be written in a way, and it's got to be messaged. We lost the amendment on the anti-abortion, correct? But if you were to talk to somebody on the street, they would have said, oh yeah, I support that. But the way it was written, it confused so many folks, and then the messaging by the leftists, we lost it. We got to get out ahead on this for back to the school choice case. And we got to win it with messaging. Clear, concise, to the point, genuine and authentic, and we've got to do that. Come back to the drag. It has absolutely no business in our schools. Our schools are reading, writing, and arithmetic. And the voice needs to be given back to the parents. And they get to say on it, such matters. And the legislature needs to be their champion in those matters. Include the power of the purse, policy, regulation, and then pull those officials in and hold them accountable. Professionally, but hold them accountable. 2 of them are getting a pass. Thank you.
Very good. Another question from the audience. Would the candidates stand up and fight against lockdowns and vaccine mandates if elected? Adrienne, how did you vote on that bill? There were a couple of bills.
I not only voted for all of that, I wrote a lot of it. And that is one of my favorite stories. House Bill 1, first week I was ever elected, got in there, we had planned to do 5-day quick pass to, limit emergency powers, open up stuff. And so we get to the 3rd day, House Bill 1 is on the Senate next to last day of the first week. And I'm reading through it and I'm getting this bad feeling, because I'm like, something's not right about this bill. And so I pass in the committee. Then we get to the So I ended up negotiating with the House General Counsel and Chief of Staff and all their leadership to get this amendment to change this. While the governor's on this 4 o'clock show saying, yay, victory lap, legislature's not gonna actually open up the businesses. We got them. And so we were able to save that, but it was because of that fast speed agility at the last second, and that just, anyway, it's kind of fun. The floor leader's like, we've never seen a freshman blowing like this. I said, well, not really freshman, but, we have to do those things. So yeah, front lines.
And if you were elected to serve as the state senator for this district, would you, and if we had another pandemic type situation, would you fight against lockdowns and vaccine mandates?
Absolutely. It's a violation of our constitutional rights. I would partner with Russell Coleman, my good friend, the Attorney General, and we would fight those. With respect to messaging back to the group, and what we seem to have lost was the ability to cogently explain to the rest of the folks and why these things were so important. We can fight a good fight in Frankfurt, but we've got to learn the ability to get out there. Of course, the media is not going to be on our side. We know that. It's not a fair fight, is it? No. So it's the churches in our communities, in our civic groups, we have got to be out there messaging the detrimental impacts of those measures, include what it did to our kids, what it did to our businesses, what it will take us decades, if at all, to recover from. So absolutely not. I would not support those. I would be a champion against those, and I would message in a very professionally strategic way with my partner conservatives to get the word out of why they're not the best interest of our Commonwealth and our district. Thank you.
And where do you stand on lockdowns and vaccine mandates?
The lockdowns and vaccine mandates sound way too communist to me, 100% against it. During the COVID nonsense, I never once closed any of my businesses. I had retail stores. In fact, I'm so strongly for medical freedom that, in the Navy, I would still be in the Navy today, in the reserve still, had this mandate not come down. I would be, my title would not be senior chief retired, it would be master chief maybe retired now, I don't know, but, I had to make a choice, give up or to get out of the Navy that you love to serve, or give this shot. And I'll choose medical freedom every day. I stood up for that, and I'll stand up for anyone here when it comes to lockdown mandates and your medical freedom. That's important.
Very good. We're actually at the 1 hour mark for this forum, but you're all paying pretty good attention. So is it okay if we continue on? There are several other questions I wanted to cover.
Bathroom break.
Can we do a lightning round? I know that we didn't explain this to you, but by lightning round, and I'm going to give the topic, and if you could keep your remarks to 30 seconds or less, that would be good. Can we do that? All right. Abortion exceptions. This was a hot topic this last General Assembly session. There was a state senator in Louisville who proposed an exception for rape or incest. Two-part question. And then I'm going to start with you. First of all, when do you believe life begins, number one, and number two, do you believe in exceptions, rape or incest exceptions?
It is a conception. You've got 4 kids and 4 grandkids. It's sacred. Then also, I do not agree in exceptions. Do you qualify in the interest of the mother's health as an exception? It's a life or death.
So just to clarify, Kentucky law states that there is, the woman is protected, the pregnant mother is protected if there's health or threat to her life.
I don't believe in exceptions. 2 traumas never make 1 trauma right with respect to that. And there's a huge negative impact that is greatly unreported of the impact of not only that mother that had that abortion, but the extended family members that take care of that burden for years, decades, all the way to their grave. And that should be also illuminated to the public so they understand that. But the baby should not be executed.
Thank you. When does life begin, Adrienne?
Life begins at conception, and that's not my belief, that's just the facts. Even the liberal Democrats, progressives, hearings, I've read the Supreme Court cases, I was concerned about our language in our trigger law when it passed. I was concerned about it again it up, because right now we have a supermajority that might consider exceptions, and I don't want them.
So you're opposed to ready for incest?
Yes.
Aaron, when does life begin?
At conception. All life is precious no matter what the circumstances are. You know, you have to ask yourself with abortion two questions. Is it growing? If yes, it's alive, right? Are the parents human? If so, it's a human being inside, no matter what the age. So, you know, in this situation, I believe, you know, the person who deserves the death penalty in this situation is the rapist.
Let's move on to DEI, which stands for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Kentucky colleges and universities have DEI programs and staff that promote DEI. There were 3 bills this last legislative session, and I'm going to point out, and I forgot to recognize State Representative Jennifer Decker is here. She sponsored House Bill 9, which made its way through the House, didn't make it through the Senate. Then there was Senate Bill 6, Senator Mike Wilson's bill, made it through the Senate, didn't make it through the House. Thank you for sponsoring your bill, by the way. I actually debated that issue publicly, and I was very much in favor of that. So maybe I just biased how they're going to respond here. Adrienne, DEI pushback, which many people believe it takes ethnicity and race into consideration when looking at students instead of having a fair playing field, an even playing field for all of the students. I'm talking about higher ed. Where do you stand on DEI?
I'm standing with Jennifer's bill. Jennifer did a really, really good bill this year, trying to shut down these DEI offices in colleges. They are not doing a single thing toward education. Our taxpayers are paying for it, and it's terrible, and she can tell you all the information. But we had, again, supermajority in the Senate. We could not even take a vote on it because we have too many members that are sitting here at the hands of UK money. That's what it is.
Thank you. Aaron, where do you stand on DEI?
Absolutely not. You know, the biggest issue with DEI is equity versus equality. You know, equality is equal rights for all of us, which is great, which I should be, but equity is equal outcomes, no matter how much you work or don't work. You know, we are a meritocracy, and that's what made America great. But if we abandon those core values for equal outcome, you're going to curse our country in the future of America.
And where do you stand on DEI?
Absolutely opposed. It should be unfunded throughout our school system. It should be opposed by legislation and regulation. It undermines our great nation. It poisons our children. It's based on critical race theory. There's no goodness in it. And yes, it bases on outcomes. Equity is not quality. It is, for lack of a better term, a Trojan horse that continue to penetrate our schools and our children and brainwash them. We have got to stand the line on that and win the strategic messaging to our fellow citizens on it.
Very good. Next topic is school choice. A bill passed this last legislative session that allows voters to expand school choice in Kentucky. And it's just the possibility to expand it. It doesn't deal with a specific type of school choice, it just allows the possibility. This is because of the state Supreme Court ruling. Adrienne, how did you vote on that bill, and what's your position on school choice?
Yes, I voted yes on the bill. In fact, I did a little bit of work previous to the bill coming because we heard it was getting bogged down in the House, and we knew voters aren't going to want to see a ballot amendment this long that has Gallrein in it. And we had Gallrein amendments this year all coming through, and so we kind of got out in front of it a little bit. I started doing a lot of wordsmith work so that when it came, we would make sure. And I feel pretty good about the language. It's about as tight as we can get. I feel pretty good, so I'm happy with that.
Aaron, where do you stand? You mentioned earlier, let's say.
Well, school choice, absolutely. It's our tax money for our kids. We should be able to pick as parents where our kids go to school, and that money should follow the students, right? We don't have enough options. JCPS taught us anything, it was that we need options for our kids and, you know, for education. Again, ask yourself this question: should parents or bureaucrats be in charge of our kids' education. It's pretty simple.
I want to modify that question to opponents of school choice, largely school teachers, and the KEA, really not necessarily school teachers. The KEA opposes it because they say this will destroy public education. How do you respond to that?
No, the data doesn't support that. In fact, I would argue that, just like car dealerships, competition will make them better. And then the key thing here is that money's from us, the taxpayers. And we've been cut out of the room, and we're getting, for lack of a better term, bad services. That'd be an understatement. But back to the school choice, having, put 4 feet through school, I know what it's like to have a child that cannot be accommodated in a public school and have to navigate what you have to do to get them an education outside what the public school will do. So with respect to that, I haven't forgotten that. We need school choice. Back to the messaging, we've got to win 2 battles. The amendment's got to be right, and then we have got to message it to our fellow Kentucky citizens. We've got to win the day, different than when we did the anti-abortion movement. So let's all get on board with that. Thank you.
We'll move over to taxes and spending. The Kentucky General Assembly is slowly cutting the state income tax by replacing the tax on certain services. Adrienne, where do you stand on that?
I was against the 2018 service expansion. They claimed that they were gonna increase the total coffers by $480 million, but it wasn't gonna cost you a dime. And, that doesn't exactly do the math. So we added services to a whole bunch of things that were basic needs, car repairs, veterinary, you just got a whole bunch of additional taxes, and I don't think you got a good deal, because frankly, they increased the tax for the lower income folks. But later, I have supported when we've done more common sense things like Botox treatments. That's fine,
Where do you stand on phasing out the state income tax?
I love to phase out the state income tax. We have to become more competitive with our surrounding states like Tennessee and Indiana. They're all phasing out their income taxes. Ron Paul said it best, taxes are the symptom, spending is the disease. So when we go to cut things like, or add consumption taxes to how we're gonna, replace the income tax, we have to be laser focused on removing other government spending that we see in this country.
And where do you stand on phasing out the state income tax?
Phase it out. We gotta be smart about it, and I think everybody would agree that the taxes that may shift to services and other, that they should be paid for by the folks that benefit from the transaction, correct? That's only fair, the folks that are benefiting from it. So back to the things that are considered, in that category, necessities and so forth, they should be exempt. We gotta be very smart about it. And then we all prosper. I'll give you an example. I just went to Nashville in the past 24 hours, down to Vanderbilt Cancer Institute for a family member. And Nashville is booming. You go to that skyline, and there's skyscrapers, there's prosperity, the communities are benefiting from it. We don't see that in Louisville. Sorry.
Thank you. Last question, and this is probably more than a 30-second response, but there was an issue this last session called Certificate of Need, which allows local healthcare, your existing hospitals or healthcare providers, veto power over allowing new healthcare providers into the community. You're familiar with this. That bill was heard in front of the House Committee, the House Health Services Committee, didn't pass. Adrienne, where do you stand on Certificate of Need, which essentially allows existing healthcare providers veto power over new healthcare or medical providers coming in?
Let me make sure this isn't a constitutional amendment question. So I do not like certificates of need. Currently, we have certificates of need everywhere, all over the place. There is no free market. We all know there's no free market in healthcare. There's really no free market in anything related to healthcare. If you want to have a business, you got to apply, go to the federal state plan, ask everybody's permission. You can't just go out and service people the way they need service. And particularly, whether it's rural or urban, either way, you can't get what you want. Because what if you go to the hospital, the only one there is, and they're bad? Now what? You're stuck. So it's just it's sanctions monopoly, and I'm totally against it. So the issue with the certificate of need, we have several bills actually this past year, and different pieces of it. Some of these are more complicated, trying to figure out how do we unwind. It's like, how do you unwind Medicaid or something big, right? That's not certificate of need, so don't confuse it. But I'm just saying, some things are more easy, some things are more complicated. So
it this way, modification to current certificate of need law. That's what we're talking
Yes.
about. Modifying the law
Yes.
to allow free market
Yes.
principles to work. Aaron, where would you stand on modifying the certificate of need to allow other healthcare providers?
Something that needs to be modified, because the biggest problem is it gives the government a legal way to make a monopoly. It's just like school choice. We need more choices, we need more options, but in theory, it should bring the cost of healthcare down, because we need more competition, is what we need in our educational system to make it better. Competition breeds an enhanced version of itself. We gotta do. Part of the endorsement that I got from Americans for Prosperity was my stance on the certificate of need.
Very, very good. Ed? is there a section on it?
No, you're good. Thanks.
Ed, do we need to modify certificate of need laws?
I oppose anything that limited competition in the medical space, if you just explained correctly.
Yes.
If I could, show of hands of folks that have cancer in the family right now, just interesting, cancer. All right, show of hands of dementia, with, folks that have, with those kind of matters, we want to have relationships with our medical folks in our communities, don't we? We don't want to be pushed out to have to go, whether it's Louisville or Cincinnati or Lexington, do. For that reason and others, I would oppose that, partly because again, it limits the competition, and then also it would deny us the opportunity to have those kind of relationships when you're navigating these matters that are so near and dear to your families, to try to keep them healthy and well. Of course, you have to go geographically far and wide. And then it goes back to the competition piece. As we all know, like ball teams, you got less competition, you'll have less quality. More competition, you'll have more quality. So with respect to that, I wouldn't be in favor of anything that diminished our ability to have competition in that space.
Very good. Well, we are out of time. We've actually gone over time. I want to thank you all for joining. I think it's been a fruitful time. You got a minute and a half for closing remarks. So Ed, you went last time, so you go first this time. Minute and a half. There's the time.
All right, thank y'all. Really appreciate that. I'm gonna go over here symbology. Now, show of hands, where's the UK folks out here? All right, they got big blue. Where's my U of L folks out here? Got some U of L folks in here? Oh my gosh. Well, where's your vote? I was on the Murray State football team to beat U of L. The symbology is powerful, and I want to start with that. On my sign, this is you. I couldn't get a school and a church on there, but these are these rural communities. Nobody out here in this district would say we're a metropolitan area, would they? No. We're rural communities. That's the Constitution. We talked a lot about it, Kentucky and our nation, right? That's Ed Gallrein standing over it for you, and that's green and yellow John Deere flag. And that's you right there that I intend to protect. Now, there's a saying by one of my famous philosopher friends, Lou Holtz, football coach, when all is said and done, too often more is said than done. I've won 2 federal whistleblower cases. Where's the attorneys here? It starts with a 62-page complaint form. When you sign that, it goes to the cabinet secretary. No law firm in the state of Kentucky would take my case. They said, you can't beat the federal government. I beat him twice. A grizzled old Navy lawyer in old Alexandria that was cut from the same cloth y'all are, that stood up against the federal government, partnered with me, and we beat him twice. I've been told I'm the only 2-time federal whistleblower in the state of Kentucky. Then I beat him in federal court. I'll do that for you. I'll be a champion. I will not back down from injustice. I could have retired. I could have moved on, but it was the wrong thing to do. And it wasn't about what it did to me. They put troops at risk, and there was some extraordinarily corrupt things going on in that organization. And I stood up to them for you. Thanks, sir.
Thank you. All right. Aaron, you're next.
All right, in closing, I want to bring us back to the essentials. Faith, family, and freedom. These aren't just pillars of my campaign. They are the lifeblood of our community here in Kentucky. As we stand at the crossroads, let us be guided by our unwavering faith. Let us be strengthened by our devoted families. And let us be driven by the freedoms that's been entrusted to us by generations of Kentuckians. We're not just deciding the fate of policy or politics. We're determining the future of our children and our children's children. It's a choice to maintain a Kentucky that is as fertile for opportunity for our crops and as rich in heritage as it is for potential. I'm Aaron Reed. I'm the son of this land, committed to being the backbone of our community. I've served on teams where actions spoke louder than words, where being steadfast was more important than being loud. Come May 21st, choose the candidate that you trust to carry the weight. One, the strength to support our businesses, uphold our families, and guard our freedoms. Vote Aaron Reed, and together, let's keep our home the heartbeat of this great state. Let's stay united, keep our faith strong, families tight-knit, and our freedom unyielding. Thank you. May God continue to bless each of you, and may grace forever shine upon the Commonwealth of Kentucky.
Thank you, Adrienne.
Thank you all so much for being here, and thank you for graciously accepting me as your step senator these last 3 years, since you did not get to vote for me originally. But I would like to ask you for your vote today, if I haven't already asked you before, for May 21st. As you know, I have some experience, not just from being elected, but also as a volunteer for years. Since 2009, I went up there while I was self-employed to watch the legislators read all of the bills and keep their feet to the fire. And it's something I did because it was important. It's important to my own future because I'm the younger generation that has to deal with this stuff that other people are gonna leave for me, and all of us. And that goes to me and what I do. I believe legislators' first job is to read the bills and make good votes.